So, the Monday just gone was the Season 0 preview live stream from the devs of Mecha BREAK. And oh boy, did they reveal a lot. Hi, guys, and welcome back. As I did with the previous dev live stream for Mecha BREAK, I wanted to do a little bit of a recap of the recent Season 0 preview stream that was done. I won't be covering individual changes and adjustments to the strikers because other creators that I know of are already delving deep into that and will do a much better job than me. But what I did want to do is cover all of the really cool updates that were announced and all of the stuff that we've got to play around with and enjoy come July 2nd when it actually launches in less than a week. But before we get into that, I wanted to, I guess, highlight and celebrate just how far Mecha BREAK has come. Because one of the things that they did right at the end of the live stream was show us just how much effort has gone into the development of Mecha BREAK. Apparently, it's been in development for 10 years, if you count starting from concept. And it actually started, as you can see behind me, as a mobile game rather than what it is now. The devs eventually decided to switch it to a PC game and, well, console as well, so they could just generally make a more fun game. And what kind of surprised me was that the name Mecha BREAK was actually voted for by early community members and early players during the development process. And then Chris from Season Games did touch on the fact that one of the main reasons or kind of motivations for them is having grown up with mecha anime, watched Transformers and things, they wanted to show that the Chinese can do mechs just as well. And all I'll say so far is, judging from Mecha BREAK, they hit the mark there. But with that, let's get into the overview of what was actually discussed and revealed, shall we? To start with, we'll look at the more generic updates. So we know that there's going to be a bunch of new maps, some of them with a lot of wide open space and some with some very narrow corridors that can really change the way that you end up having to approach combat. One really surprising thing was that gravity and water actually affect your mobility and your combat prowess, which was very exciting to see. They have done a bunch of rebalancing for the strikers, but as I mentioned, I won't be going into detail for each of the strikers and what was done. On top of that, turns out that we get destructible maps, and the maps themselves can change throughout the course of a fight. There's a whole bunch of changes around the outfits and the fact that you can actually now sell your preset that you're happy with for your character customization on an in-game market to get in-game currency, the same currency that is then used to unlock certain things like the new strikers. And in terms of the hangar, we have seen that they've added a ton of more interactable elements within the hangar itself. And on launch, which I didn't expect, will be the ability for squad members and friends to actually come and visit your hangar. So you can already get your team and your squad gathering together before you go into a match, which is really cool. And then before we move on to kind of more focused updates, it's also worth mentioning that Season Games revealed every 3 months a new season will start, and with the new season brings, in their words, new content. And that's incredibly exciting, and I'm really looking forward to what we get in the next 3 months. But with all that, shall we move on to the more targeted and specific areas of the upgrades and the modifications? Starting with maps, I did already mention how things like gravity will change the way your mech actually handles, and that goes as, again, with water too. Some of the new maps make use of that. So, for example, as you'll see behind me, it's now possible to fight underwater. The problem is, if you're using energy based weapons, for example, your attack goes down. and you do less damage because you're in water. It's also harder to move around. It slows you down. You have to use more of your thrusters to get out, and just completely changes the way that your striker handles. And then in space, we've already seen that there's a base on the moon and that we're going to go and fight on the moon. And when you're on the moon, obviously, gravity is different. And what they've done is they've made it so that the flyers, such as Sky Raider and Falcon, are able to just speed around at an even faster rate because they're no longer having to deal with air resistance. And it's that level of thought and detail that kind of just boggles my brain because it's not what I was expecting at all. Then, if we add to that the fact that there are environmental hazards, for example, in a space station map, we can see that there's some kind of, I guess, exhaust or something, or beam exhaust, or maybe it's like a Death Star ray that, if you're caught in it, will just drain your shields and your health, which gives almost a tactical element because maybe you can get your enemies stuck in there instead of you and make that kill a little bit easier. They've also added movable elements to the maps. For example, in the water map, we can see that capture point A starts off on top of a tower, completely out of the water, where you can just battle normally. But over time, that tower sinks. And eventually, capture point A becomes an underwater capture point, and the battle for it becomes that much more difficult. And you can see it falling in real time as the match goes on, which is really cool. And what's also cool is in the 3v3, they showed off that the training ground actually can be a combat zone for the 3v3 mode. And whilst it starts off completely flat, blocks continuously fall down. Some of them can be destroyed, as you can see in some of the footage. But over time, they basically create a landscape around you that wasn't there at the start of the fight, which is so cool because your tactics and your approach to the battle has to change as the map changes. And I love that. Speaking of the 3v3 mode known as Ace Arena, unlike in the beta, it's going to be available from the get go. You're just going to be able to go straight into it. And probably the biggest change, which, as I mentioned before, the devs listened to player feedback. One of the most requested things, apparently, for the 3v3 mode was the ability to change your striker when you respawn, which is now, I think. So if you go in there on a Sky Raider and you find out that actually, you know what, Sky Raider's not the right one for this, if you get taken down during your respawn, you're able to choose a different one. For example, try Sarah, and you'll spawn in that one instead. And then the other biggest change to the 3v3 is that the game has what's called modular weapons. In the open beta, basically, they were used for the Mashmak extraction mode because you could call them down, pick them up, and have new weapons equipped onto your mech. These now spawn in the map of the 3v3s. The difference being, with Mashmak, you can set which modular weapons you want to drop. In 3v3, it's entirely random what's actually in those boxes when they do fall down onto the battlefield. Moving away from the maps and the gameplay and the match types, there is a reward system and a battle pass in Mecha BREAK. So I wanted to kind of touch on that and what sort of things we can expect from the get-go. Season 0, we know, will feature 16 strikers, 10 6v6 maps, 4 3v3 maps, and Mashmak. On top of this, the 2 new strikers, Serenith and Solaris, will be available to purchase through in-game currency from the get-go. You don't have to complete any achievements or anything before you get the ability to go and unlock them. Chris also revealed that Mecha BREAK will have a Refer a Friend style campaign with a bunch of different bonuses, all available at launch. You can get unique insignia for your mechs, and anyone who uses that referral code will also get them. I believe there's some special accessories and outfits that you can get for your pilot There's also unique paint colors for your mechs. And on top of that, to make it even better, they did announce that there's going to be drops available for the Twitch streamers. So if you're watching Mecha Break on stream, you're probably going to find that you unlock a whole bunch of other accessories for your outfits as well. And to wrap things off, there were two final announcements that were revealed right at the end of the Season Zero preview stream. The first of these blew my mind because, as you can see, they're making a Mecha Break anime, and that is just crazy. And I know I'm going to watch it. And I will watch every second of it, and I cannot wait. And then finally, they did reveal that based on the falcon that the character of the anime uses, a special edition falcon figure is going to be available soon TM. And as you can see, it looks incredible. But that's kind of the biggest changes outside of individual mech balancing. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope it was informative. I will be streaming Mecha Break the day it launches in Europe, which is July the 2nd, and I cannot wait. And considering that drops are going to be enabled, I hope to see you there. Thanks for watching.